Welcome, ladies. Welcome to this video. This is probably the last video I do regarding to this challenge, mini challenge actually. Talking about the no drinking challenge. And one of the things that I was talking yesterday about, I think with Francis on the phone, it was that this challenge was one of my favorite because essentially was really let's try to teach you how to not drink a lot of calories, not drinking calorie because in all fairness, unless you don't prefer doing that, it's much easier when you want to lose weight to not drink calorie. I mean, in not drinking calorie than not eating calorie, right? It takes longer and so forth. Now, today I'm going to talk to you about several things, including a lot of vulnerability, because I feel like that's much needed. I want you to feel like, as a coach, like we shouldn't do in this challenge, but I'm having my coffee, and worst of all, today I'm even having my zero Red Bull because I'm going to work out. Now, just to show you that if you fall for something or if you decide to do something, it isn't bad, right? Now, there is a lot of intelligence in the challenge because the challenge was to not only get you to really force yourself to get test yourself to what you can and can't do, but also to really give you some more perspective on the choices that you make, right? And there is again, I will go through a lot of the posts. I can't unfortunately share anymore with this BS situation with this with the Facebook lives, but hopefully they're gonna come out with something better. I thought it's better to go live and actually talk about it than record it like a Zoom and then nobody's live, right? If you're live here, let me know you're watching. Today is a holiday here in Switzerland, as all of May it is. So quite funny again, but let me know what you're doing. Let me know maybe you're on some boats or something on vacation or whatever. Before we dive deep in, a few housekeeping stuff. Number one, you can jump in still on the beta test. As a active client, I'm going to allow this to happen through this week. As a prospect, you can probably jump out as we go, right? Because again, I really want to create some good study here about that. And the idea is to really see how you know just really consuming a course how quick can it change your life. And I know it does change your life because we change so many, but how quickly we can do that. Then there is going to be an exciting, and I know you're going to be excited about this because it's going to be one of our big challenges, not mini challenge, challenge. Summer, yeah, I'll call it 28 days summer emergency plan, right? So we know that all the time as much like I was, but I know so many women that we helped through the years were as well. You always get to the summer and it's like, oh my God, it's a summer. I need in a month to change. And can you change in a month? Yeah, you can. The issue is that when you do it wrongly, you're gonna regain back all the weight and it's gonna be harder the next time, right? Essentially, like if you really want to get in shape, top shape by the summer, you should start probably around March or February, right? But if you want to understand how can you quickly get to that results and then keep the results, but of course with an ounce of intelligence, that's probably the challenge for you because one thing that is going to happen is that we're going to assess. We know that if you lose weight and you regain it back, your body's totally fine doing that. So chances are you're in phase two in our program. Chances are like you have the ability to lose weight, right? Even if you're 40. Now, what you're doing usually wrong is that you're using the wrong strategy. You don't do the strategy that you use correctly, or you're not doing it for long enough. And the last, you are doing it too quickly, right? So one of the things that the challenge will speak to is that we're gonna assess the goal and also the speed of the goal. So you're gonna be assigned to me or any other coach inside the team. We're going to redirect into what is it that not only the customized protocol needs to be but also the speed because from me talking to you just a few minutes I'm going to be able to say okay, I think that you should go to this speed, right? And I can tell and I trust me, if by August you can look amazing, right? But also instead of losing 15 kilo you only lose 7 or 8, but then you learn how to keep it off, next summer you're going to lose perfect. You're gonna look perfect. Chances are by probably fall you're gonna look perfect already by holiday time, right? So I want this to be something very different than usually most people are doing, and this is quite, I guess, quite important. Now going back to the challenge of this, one of the things I asked myself, and again, this is quite critical because I saw and again I'm doing this today because I want to show you that it's totally fine. Like you're a human, right? I'm a human. I'm not the coach that tells you, okay, do this and or maybe I am do this and I'm doing something else. Well, through this week, I have been trying really hard and most of the time I'm being successful. Now, it's key to understand that you need to, instead of seeing something as a streak is like, oh, everything is done today, and then the day that you fell off, then you fail. That's the biggest mistakes you can do, right? Instead, you need to see it like, how can I improve every single day? Now, I'm gonna talk about that because I saw a lot of intelligence in this challenge. The idea of this challenge was, let's get you to really focus on how to make changes. Let's focus on having you control with food, because if you can get control over food, you can control emotional eating. I was an emotional eater for years, and I feel like when you're an emotional eater, there is something ingrained into you that you always a little bit of an emotional eater. It's an identity, right? And it's hard. It's very hard to fix. And this is probably why, with all ethics and with all ethics, is that why I moved away in the past from 2016 from teaching to emotional leaders, and I went to really go into metabolism and teaching ladies over 40, because I know that we all face similar issues. But of course, uh, emotional eating is very hard, and it comes always from an ingrained physiological issue and also a psychological issue, like value of food, identity shifting that or lack of shifting. And I saw a lot of posts, very intelligent posts. For example, I saw Lamis that she used, tools like ginger to make things taste well, so that you don't also don't have calorie in between. I saw a lot of people eating food versus drinking, calorie. That's very intelligent. I also saw, Claudia. I love her post, because all the time, through that period when you're sick, you're still trying to not have your coffee. And again, and one thing that you notice though is like, I've recently also been taking, as you guys all know, antibiotics. The one thing that happens is like, those medicine, whenever you're sick, it shifts your your hunger levels. Like, that's physiological, that's not psychological, right? I'm taking antihistaminic right now for this fucking like allergy that you feel when I talk. And this year has been terrible. I mean, it's not as terrible as when I was younger, when I was 20, like the highs were like that. But it's still terrible, it's still bad. And when it's bad, it's like you're more susceptible to making wrong choices, or choices that you shouldn't be making. What's gonna be stopping you from making those choices is identity, right? And the identity is so massive. Today, I want to talk briefly about mindful and mindless deviation. I want to tell you how that was impacted inside my life this week. And of course, how can we fix it, right? Or how can we improve it? Mindless deviation would be, and I use the example of alcohol all the time. That's the easiest example to use. If you're a drinker, or if you socially drink, and you know that that's going to be bad for so many reasons, when it comes to weight loss, because not only is the alcohol itself the problem, is the day after and the couple of days after, because of the hormonal changes, the cravings that it induced, the dehydration, the impact on muscle loss, and all that stuff. All things that, by the way, happen some 40 years old anyway. The issue of all that is that on top of that, the metabolism either burn fat or sugar. When you're a little bit insulin resistant, it doesn't burn effectively anything. If you can not lose weight over 40, chances are you're at least acutely insulin resistant, a little bit, right? And it's hard for you to burn either. When you rest, you should be burning fat. When you sleep, fat. When you walk very slowly, you should be burning fat. When you have an activity like, cardio or weights or whatever, you should be burning carb. If you cannot do that effectively, and by the way, when you reach a calorie deficit, you should be losing weight and fat, mostly fat. If you cannot do that effectively, it is because there is inflammation in your body. And alcohol, much like certain type of coffee, certain type of teas, certain energy drinks, they create this toxicity, this virtual, which is not real, of course. It's not like your body is actually, there is venom in your body, but there is some toxins, foreigner chemicals in your body that your body needs to get rid of. And it takes, for the most part, alcohol, for example, 3 days. So if you drink a couple of times a week, you understand that there is never really a time that your body efficiently burns either fuels, right? what how can you see it though? Because that's we know what happens, but then you say in life, I need to enjoy a little bit. And for some people might be a few drinks, for some people might be a few desserts, for some people might be both, like was myself this week. And a mindful deviation is like saying, if you go into an event like yesterday, yesterday I went out a little bit with, we did just open up the summer up here, and they have some external event, and I said there are a few people I haven't seen for months, relatively, right? And then I say, mindful deviation would be saying I have to use certain type, and you need to use this with intelligence, right? Not just like randomly, not like mindlessly, right? You say I get to drink, let's say if I like liquor, you get like double or maybe like whiskey, whatever, and you drink it very slowly, and then like you had a few glasses of water after, and then you maybe had something else, and that would be like maybe two drinks. You know that you're getting in a few hundred calories, maybe 500 300 calories. By the way, just research that, because don't quote me on this. Is like it's very easy to add up calorie with drinking, and again, it doesn't only mean alcohol. It can also be juices, sugary drink, whatever, right? And the healthiest of the drinks as well. Like even Hamel milk, like you had the whole cartoon, you're already getting not a lot of calorie, but you're getting some calories. So with this being said, if a mindful deviation, and not this has to do with more the behavior of it, is like saying I haven't seen these people for 2 months, maybe it should be, maybe I can actually indulge myself. Now you also have to say think that if you're a little bit stressed, chances are a drink can turn into 10 drinks. If you're a person that, if you're a lady that wants drink wine, 2 glasses can turn into a bottle, right? When you are not stressed, you're totally in control of all the energy, you're not bloated, you feel good, you have a good night's sleep, or maybe you also work out in the days, you're like, okay, I can actually control, and I can actually choose, you know kind of drinks that I can. Like if you go into some more stuff like mojitos, and so like you're already getting, like you're shooting yourself in the foot, because you're getting a bunch of sugar, a bunch of syrup, and then you get a bunch of calorie on top of the alcohol. If you're just getting, I don't know, a glass of prosecco, or just some red wine, which is good for your heart as well, that's gonna be fine. But more so mentally, you're like, okay, this is a mindful deviation, because I'm doing it because of my friends. Realistically, you also have to think, this is like, if you're gonna see these people again, and likely this has been the pattern for me, at least couple of every 2 weeks these years, you know, and that's part of my identity. Unfortunately, you tell yourself this is a mindful deviation, but this is really a mindless deviation, because a mindless deviation would be like saying this is something you can do every week. Why don't we just take a break for 3 months, and then we do it afterwards, right? We're changing a little bit the identity. We see what happens. Chances are it's you're gonna improve your sleep. You're gonna reduce the fat, and has to do with identity again, because it's like, what are we really trying to do here? If you want to like lose weight and keep it off, or change your life, right? That's what needs to take place. And I asked myself this week, I said, like, one thing I noticed, and one thing I can tell you, one of the things, this is what a lot of coaches are not going to tell you, because they always want to sell you something like saying, oh, you have a problem. And for 1 or 2% of the population, that is actually a real problem. It's like maybe thyroid issue, insulin resistant, whatever. So for a lot of people, instead, it's really about like, a lot of, you know, lack of behavior that you used to do in the past, right? In the past, I was really much more diligent. When you get older, not necessarily 40, 30-ish as well, 50, 60, as older as you get, things get a lot harder. You're losing weight, you're losing muscle, you get more dehydrated, physiologically start to stick to something. You get sick more often. When you take medicine, when you get allergies, it's harder to stick to something. I know this from the post, and you can comment if that's you. Like you say, oh, it's so hard when everything is perfect. When I'm sick, I'm gonna allow myself to have that, and that's an identity thing. And I noticed that's it's much harder. Like this week was very hard for me to stick to something. Now, what I'm not gonna do, I'm not gonna say, oh, I'm drinking this thing now, and so that I'm kind of failing. No, I'm gonna say we're gonna get back on track tomorrow, right? And you're gonna do your best. Now, I wish it was easy to create an identity to say, now because essentially it's like also like this. It's like you want to lose weight. This is what we should do. It's like we should really focus on following these things. And usually, I said it multiple times, the only why people don't change, and not necessarily under 40 ever, is like they really, the pain they're in right now doesn't exceed the pain of change. Well, what sucks is that the pain of change is simple. It's like as long as you're doing boring and repetitive things and you are not triggered from results quickly, and those things doesn't necessarily like decrease your life quality or kill you, chances are, or put you in danger, chances are it's actually doable, right? It's like it's an identity. It's like I don't want to, I should really focus on losing weight and doing all the right things to losing weight, even when things are hard, especially when things are hard, when I'm traveling, whatever, right? And this week was yesterday, for example, I had this, like I said, I had this mindless deviation, we'll call it. And I came home. I tried to eat pretty much everything like you know healthy, something that fulfills me. And then I'm like, I'm definitely not gonna eat ice cream tonight. And then I was like, okay, this is just one. And then one turned into three, and because it turned into three, because I'm like, okay, it's only like 200 calories. So I'm like 600 calories I'm gonna burn tomorrow, right? Yeah, that's the mentality, but it's the wrong mentality. And of course, I'm very flexible on allow you guys to do all that, because much like we saw, for example, again, I'm going to use Claudia. If you know that you're taking away coffee, you're going to overeat calories the whole time, then it only makes sense for you to have it. Because the one thing that you want to learn from this kind of challenges is like, what does it work for me? If you eating, drinking coffee, and of course, you also hydrate yourself, chances are like you're doing less damage than you overeating calorie. But some people need to get to that point. Some people don't automatically know that. So it's important to actually learn from the challenge. But going back to that, like the mentality I should have had maybe was more so like, okay, I'm not gonna really hit those because my identity doesn't allow me to that. And again, it's both. There is both ways that is fine. Like one thing is gonna be in the summer challenge is like you're gonna either learn more flexibility or you're gonna learn how to mentally address those issues and say, okay, I really need to change now. Yeah. And I always make an example of a friend of mine who used to live in Miami, and he was super lean, and he used to be an ex soccer player, and then now it's kind of doing stuff in fashion, and that is always surrounded by important people and like whatever. Like it's always like one time we went out and out crazy nights, and then it's like I said to him like, let's go and eat. There was this thing open. It was like a kebab or whatever, right? Kebab, fatty meats, and all that stuff. And he's kind of looking for whatever plate doesn't have, like he only have rice, and it's like, because this time it's like, hey Jerry, we don't eat that, that we don't eat that. And I'm like, fuck, that's a real identity. And you see, I also use Cristiano Ronaldo, right? I say you can like the guy or hate the guy, you are going to be undeniably be able to admit that why he's so lean and why he's probably also very performant, aside from his talents, what he, in my opinion, is number one or number two, whatever, depending people like soccer, what they think, but definitely one of the couple of first. Um, it's his undeniable ability to be disciplined because it's been ingrained into him, right? It's a decision. And I said multiple times, what does it take to be that? It's hard, but for sure a memory. Meaning like you need to create your first memory to see yourself as lean as you want to be or as feeling as good as you want to be. And then you're like, fuck, I'm on my 50s and I look better than I was on my 30s. I'm on my 50 and I have better intimacy I have on my 30. I have a better role model for my kids. I am like, I always, everybody looks, turn around, even like if you're a lady, maybe guys turn around, even your husband on the side. Like when you walk, it's like, you need to create the memory. Like that's gonna allow, and that might be not be your trigger. From other people, it's like you wanna, maybe you don't have kids, you wanna get pregnant. You know that like if you get leaner, it's easier, right? Or some other people say we wanna get confident. But you need to get to that point to understand what is that drives me. Because if your driving point is like a couple of kilo on the scale, you're never gonna get that there. And I don't expect you to. That's normal, you don't, right? And it's not, and by the way, it doesn't make you a bad person. Like you can totally be that, right? But must be important. Why am I saying this? Because one day, and God forbid that's not you that I'm naming, it's like one day you might wake up and it's like, oh my God, it was only about the image before. Now I'm like having diseases. I am diabetes. I have this. Like, then you need to do it, and it sucks. I'm telling you because that then it's really hard because when you have this, and I'm using myself as an example. We just had, some people coming inside. Like we had Pilar coming back, and I was doing her stress test, and she's totally physiologically looking up, everything looks good on her stress. When she runs, she's gonna be, her blue waves are not apparent, but every single day they are, and then like she recovers very quickly. So that's functional. And I don't want to use myself to the sake of saying, okay, I'm gonna almost like give myself an excuse, but it's like if you do that with me, it doesn't happen. So I'm still figuring out with my hormonal doctor to see, okay, do we need some sort of progesterone to fix my sleep? Because if I fix my sleep, everything else gonna be fixed. But I'm telling you, when you have something like a reverse cortisol curve, thyroid issue, insulin resistance, it's fucking hard. Like and it's hard because you cannot control those hormonal and physiological cravings, bad sleep, mood swings. Like those are hard to control, and this is why it's hard. And those impacts your life, impacts your people around you, impacts your life, impacts your decision on food, impacts the ability to work out, impacts like yesterday night I was like almost like a zombie, and like my friends like, usually you're much more social, what's going on? It's like it's hard, right? So before you get there, try to do it before, because I'm telling you it's much going to be much easier. And the identity shift one is the, again, it's like telling yourself all this is like, oh, I need to find the first memory. And then of course also, not the second thing that I want to say, it kind of slipped my mind now, but it's more so like, also of course why it's important for you. Because if it's not important, then probably it's not even worth it. Like you might just well indulge and have fun, and again, it doesn't make you like a bad person. But I hope this give you some peace of mind. I think you all did amazing in this challenge. I'm proud of you all. I'm really proud. It's like you guys, like if we were to say the points, like like boxing. And by the way, I love Mike Tyson coming back out of retirement for boxing. And by the way, let me know this. It's like I said multiple times. I'm gonna talk about other things rather than just health. If you like boxing, I love the fact that nowadays we live in an era which is crazy. The era like we had, pandemic. We have a lot of things going on in the world, politically, whatever. Yet we live in this time that you see singers, sing with other singer that would never get along in the past. We see YouTube sensations, whether or not you like those people, going against sporter like Mike Tyson, like whatever, right? And I love it because it's like if I think that if Mike Tyson doesn't knock out the guy in 2 rounds, that the fight is crooked. It's not, it can't be possible even at 60 years old, right? But again, and again, I don't know how I got into this tangent anyway. But the point is, I hope that this give you something different, some vulnerability. And if we got to the proverbial 12 rounds, and we look at the points, I think that all of you probably did better than me. But I also wanted not to go super extremely in with this challenge myself. Why? Because I really wanted to say, without giving a lot of value to the food and a lot of value to the challenge itself, what is it that breaks? Because I wanted to say, yeah, it's like we need to do something about it, but like still you want to live normally. And I want to see what these people learn. And a lot of you have a lot of learning. So we have a few days to go, and then we're going to launch the other challenge right away because summer is coming. We have 2 months. I'm going to personally go to vacation at some point as well, maybe for like a week. Weekends is harder to find me. I let you know. I'm always like on my phone, but a lot of people text me on the weekend. I rather you do it during the week. It's much easier for me to get back even on your check-ins. And another thing that I want to share is that going like I'm gonna probably do an intensive myself inside the summer, but my intensive might look a little bit different than yours, right? My strategy is like, how can I just eat food that I love, yet really create those things that I like high, low calorie dense, high volume food, that tastes well, and how to tackle those difficult times, when you're traveling, when you're on vacation, whatever. Because again, and if I can be successful, like everybody can, but essentially it's like you need to understand that why people cannot stick to something is always different from each other, right? So like one strategy is different than the other. So this is basically what's going to happen in our big challenge. With this being said, I hope you appreciate the vulnerability and understand the point of mindful and mindless deviation, because that's exactly what it's about. When you're going to know that, when you know that you shouldn't be doing certain behavior, like having pizzas too much, or having desserts too much, or having uh, alcohol in this case, you always want to say, why is it that you're doing it, right? If you have somebody that unfortunately you're never going to see again, like you say, we don't want to use a bad example, but let's say you are some friends that moves away forever. You see them for one last time. It's like, yeah, that's maybe a time that you get all in. And it's like, that's one time. If you do this every week, chances are like you probably can do it next week as well. You can still get a decent experience without doing that. And I hope this all this helps. This I'm anticipating this video going around in YouTube and stuff. So I hope this can reach a lot of people and really change a lot of people's lives. Coach Jerry here. Hope you enjoyed the challenge. Tell me what you think about this video. Comment below. Follow me the other pages. Every week we're gonna release a topic. This week is belly fat. I'm gonna give you a very good way to go through a journey quickly to understand what to do about belly fat as well. This is in my pages. But again, let me know and go live on your learning from this challenge. That would be much for me. It's much harder to see a 1 minute video than sometimes read a long as post, which is also something you should do, by the way. It's not like I'm telling you not to post, because that's a way for you to get some points in here. But if you go live, I'm probably gonna say that I'm gonna give you some extra credit, like maybe 5 extra point. If you really somebody cares about um, winning this thing, and there will be a winner for sure. Like you guys did amazingly, and I appreciate the fact that you're doing the hard challenges. Sometimes working out is more hard, but like this is actually pretty hard, because mentally it's hard for some people not to have coffee, for instance. So um, yeah, so I think like you all did very well. Coach Jerry here. I'm gonna probably go live on Monday on so forth, or Tuesday, to announce the winners and everything. Have an amazing weekend. Let me know how you go along in your journey. Reach out if you need. Your check-ins are all in, so just go if you haven't completed it yet, and I'm gonna follow up back probably before the weekend.